Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome back to the RAF Motorsports channel for another night of racing here on the BFBS Afvrc Season 3. It's Week 5, rounds 9 and 10. We have reached the halfway point of the season, which means we're back up at my neck of the woods here in Scotland. Knockhill Racing Circuit. I literally can look out my real-life window and see the circuit over in the background. David Christie here with you, and joined again by the super sub that is the one, the only, Mr. Alex Goldschmidt. Alex, good evening. What a round to bring you back into the championship onto.
I'm probably one of the ones that's going to be the most chaotic of this season, to be honest with you, David. But it's a track that's definitely on my bucket list because you just made me insanely jealous that you can look out of your real life window at home and literally be a stone's throw from the circuit. But what a track! I mean, BTCC, TCR UK heading back this year for 2023. Seen British GT and British F3 in years past. It's a circuit that's going to test everybody tonight.
It certainly is. It annoys me, Alex, that you've not been up here as well. We need to get you up here and get you up here for a proper weekend session at Knockhill. A wild 1.3 mile circuit. Is one of the most popular circuits here in the UK for that reason right there. Duffus Dip, turn number 1. The elevation and the tight, twisty technical nature of this track makes it a beloved track here in the UK, and certainly a very, very tricky prospect for these Toyota GR86s to navigate tonight. We've already seen throughout the season, Alex, that they get a little bit wild, a little bit feisty, and I think things are going to properly kick off here tonight.
I think the biggest point will be coming through from Butchers and into that infamous chicane, which is over a blind crest, and you've got to nail that perfectly. And as you said, the rear ends and these GR86 Cup cars are going to be sketchy at best, but if you carry the wrong amount of, the wrong line going into that chicane, it can really knock your confidence, and it could see a bit of drama in the mix as well.
Yeah, it certainly can. You can see there the circuit's still to go. We're off to a mystery circuit next week. We've got Brands Hatch, Oulton, Silverstone and Donington, all off to them again. Oulton for the first time this season, but it's a revisit to the rest of them. But also having a look at the championship standings then. This is how it is. Ryan Martin then out with 737 points ahead of Chris Pawley there. 641 points. This is now where Chris needs to start bringing that gap back down. Adam Barn in third place there with 584. James King shortly behind with 572. Tom Stevens with a 568. Stu McFadden is going to be rapidly catching up though, 537. But again, he needs to massively get a move on if he's going to be contending for the championship. Will Fox, Chris Boland and John Finch rounding out the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. The Teams' Championship is a little bit of a given at the moment, just sheer force by numbers for the RAF, 1,887 points, with Royal Navy getting a very respectable, given how few cars that they have got in, 1093, and British Army on 776. But with something like 2/3 of the cars, Alex, coming from the RAF, it is a kind of formality, essentially, is the word I'm looking for at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, still, things can change even over the course of a championship. You and I both know that, and with the numbers that the respective divisions of His Majesty's troops have got, is going to be quite crucial. As Jez Banks going through into Duffus Dip, 2 wheels in the air already, and we're the best part of nearly halfway through the qualifying session. And again, you've got to be on the absolute limit at this circuit, but you don't want to give yourself a drama in the meantime. I think especially when you're going down Railway Straight and down into Taylor's, which is that very, very tight hairpin, where we're going to see a lot of overtaking, a lot of stens going through before they come back over the start-finish straight, but then there's an uphill climb before you go down into Duffus Dip. So it's like a roller coaster ride here, and that's why it's so entertaining every time that racing takes place at Knockhill.
It absolutely is, and in fact, if we can go on the nose cam of Jez Banks, so give you an idea of just how much of a roller coaster this is actually like, improves on that time there, and there we go, inboard then. So over the crest of the hill, Duff has stepped in on that right-hander, and actually in real life they've made that sausage curb on the right hand even more pronounced, so in iRacing it's actually a little bit easier than it is in real life now. But down through Butchers, up through the compression, through the chicane there, again very little of a lift, and you can see why, because Jez banks straight off into the grass on the left hand side there, waits for a safe place to rejoin, and then it's going to be around the right-hander there. The problem with that at Clark's as well is that it's such a rhythmic motion going round here in the circuit, and what I mean by that is we've done a 55-second lap, right? That's one lap. We've got 15 minutes of a race here, so you're going to get in at least sort of say 16 laps into this. You'd be amazed at how quickly Alex autopilot switches on, and you're following the car in front of you, or you're just, lap after lap after lap, and then suddenly a mistake happens and you're into the wall.
Yeah, and also with regards to overtaking being in a premium at this circuit, David, you're going to have to sort of tee things up. No, not over the course of, like, say, 2 or 3 corners. You're probably going to spend the best part of maybe a lap and a half, maybe even 2 laps before you decide to make a move that could put you a little bit further up the order. But if you accidentally outbrake yourself, particularly going into Taylor's, because having driven on Knockhill on other sim racing platforms, it is a tricky corner to get right. It really is. As we're right on board with Stuart McFadden, and he just showed that you have to sweep wide going into Taylor's, but you leave the door open for someone that might be up towards your inside going through Railway Straight and into Taylor's. You just got to make sure that you're on that racing line, and the pit lane exit is also one particular point that could be somewhere where things go wrong. I mean, if someone gets a drive-through penalty through to Jiminy X points by either track cutting or incidents, that could be another point where we could see one car coming out of the pit lane and a gaggle of cars making their way to Duffer's Dip. All hell could break loose if that kind of situation did emerge.
Yeah, I was seeing a slightly creative line taken through at Clark Corner there. That's that right-hander that goes uphill, and actually real-life racing star Gordon Shedden, that's one of his favourite places to overtake there. Basically, obviously knows the track like the back of his hand, but he will he'll outbrake some cars into that corner and just sweep it up the inside, knowing that he gets a better run out of that corner and already gets the car into position before the car's even turned in for the apex there. So be an interesting part of the circuit, Alex, to keep our eye on, certainly towards the second third of it. But the lap here is done in the blink of an eye, and you were saying there about some cars are going to try and tee things up over a lap or 2 laps, and absolutely I think there's going to be a lot of bottlenecking going on. But what you've also then got to remember is you're going to have 4 or 5 cars behind you that are eager and frantic to get past, so you're going to just have to hope that they are patient and not going to force the issue, because I think they might.
Well, patience is not necessarily a virtue here at Knockhill. You and I both know that, as we see Mr. Durnell going very well. He went 2 wheels into the air. He's completely sideways. But well held though. And that's another danger. The proximity of the track limits, as Chris Pauly goes top of the timesheets, 55.221. Will Foulkes has also been improving on lap time. I mean, he was purple in Sector 1 just a few moments ago. Because of the limited amount of track space, you said about bottlenecking. We are going to see places where, like, say, coming out of Clark's, going into Railway Straight, heading into Taylor's, you're going to see at least 2 wide. And considering the width of these cars, I think at a push, you might see 3 wide at one point, but it's going to be someone that's going to be very, very brave to keep it pinned around the outside around here at Knockhill.
Oh, absolutely, and I really do hope we see that happen, because I think your bravery is going to reward quite a lot of people here tonight, but I think it's also going to hinder quite a lot of them as well. The other thing coming across that start-finish line is how closed in the sides of the track are with that tyre wall there. That is very likely to spit a couple of cars back out right into the middle of the track here, especially over the unsighted corner here at the chicane. that's going to be a leap of faith for quite a few of the cars, because when you're coming up that compression at Butchers, going over the chicane, it's completely unsighted. You've got no idea what is waiting you at that other side. So that'll be very, very interesting to see what happens there. But 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Chris Pauley, as Alex said there, pole position with a 55.2, with Will Fox in second place. Ryan Martin in third place. The championship contenders there still neck and neck. Stu McFadden, as you could predict, would be up there as well. He was unlucky not to get the rub of the green on that second race at Snettertown last time out. And Matty Chambers in fifth position there. So Alex, again, we've spoken about how short this circuit is, but for qualifying, I mean, it's nigh on impossible, isn't it? It's the luck of the draw whether you actually get a clean run here or not.
Yeah, I mean, even with the fact that we've got 27 cars on the grid tonight, track space is going to be at a premium, especially with qualifying, as we see Ryan Martin. If anyone might remember the ding-dong battle that we had between him, Folks and McFadden, where Ryan unfortunately got turned around because of a back marker getting in the way. Yeah, you've got to really just be on your A game around this circuit. It's about not making any mistakes and then just having to wait for your opportunity. But now we're seeing a lot more significant activity on the circuit with, I think, probably the best part of nearly 20 cars on the grid, and over a 1.3 mile circuit. There's not much real estate there to have to play with.
There really isn't, but I'm just noticing Stu McFadden up into P3 now. That could have big implications because, of course, he is not fighting at the moment for this championship just now. He could do if results go his way for the rest of the season, but at the moment it is between Will Fox and Ryan Martin. So interested to see somebody stuck in between those two right now. But again, it's all going to be on that race start here, and it's going to be so important to get a good start here at Knockhill. Now, thankfully, we've got that rolling start happening. Having 26 cars on a standing start here at Knockhill just gives me the absolute fear, Alex.
Especially when it's a British Touring Car Championship.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one is an absolute doozy. And I still remember, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Paul O'Neill that was actually pushed into the entrance of the pit lane and spanked the barriers as coming out of Taylor's. So that's another place where, if you're getting it three wide, going down the start-finish straight, up an incline, there is possibly the opportunity that something might happen, but who knows?
And that's the thing, is because it's such a all or nothing circuit here, Alex, the potential for things going wrong is very, very high. We've seen some really, really wild accidents both in the sim and in real life here. And the thing is thankfully it's, with this virtual racing, the drivers can leave a little bit more on the table and just sort of put the foot down, maybe a little bit more than they would normally do in real life. It's a very, very intimidating circuit, having driven it only on the confines of a track day myself in my little 107, but it is proper frightening. You get a little sense of it if you're in VR on the sim, but once you experience it in real life, I mean, coming down Duffus, it terrifies me. You've got that wild section where it comes down through the left-hander as well. The car is doing so many different things with the weight transfer. It's trying to sort of push the weight forward, then it's trying to push the weight back, then you're trying to turn left with it, then you're trying to go on the brakes with it, all in the same time, and it just goes all over the place very, very quickly indeed. And that's what a lot of these drivers are finding out. You're seeing that, when you see a car going off, Alex, it's 9 times out of 10 it's that they're just trying to keep it away from the barrier, and they've dipped a wheel into the grass. Yeah,
well, we have actually been duly informed it is a standing start, so cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war for both races tonight. As Matthew Chambers gets a little bit of a tank slapper, gets a bit sideways, but manages to get the car back onto the tarmac here at Knockhill. As we head into the final 55 seconds, Chris Pauley is currently in the pits. I have noticed Will Fox at the moment has been lighting up the timesheets purple in sector number 1. But then, the second sector goes a little bit awry. But with the amount of drivers trying to put that hot lap in, Craig Durant's just had an off track in the number 84, currently 13th in qualifying. And currently, David, top 15, rounded out by the number 40 of Darren Berris, covered by just 1.1 seconds. So a very close qualifying. Top 5 covered by exactly half a tenth.
Yeah,
half a second.
But that's what we see almost every round from this, Alex, and it's one of the reasons that I love being involved in this championship. It's so close, nothing to split the top set of drivers anyway, and that looks like qualifying done and dusted. Chris Pauly isn't going to have any more to say on this. Will Fox isn't going to have anything more as well. Stu McFadden and Ryan Martin still out on track just now. We're watching Matty Chambers though coming round the old railway bend down into that final hairpin corner, that tight right-hander that doubles back on itself and starts going uphill as well. The other thing as well is you'd be amazed at the actual incline of the start-finish straight. You get a little sense of it here, but it is a proper hill these drivers are climbing here.
It's very deceptive. I mean, we see on board with Paul Hayhoe as he goes into the pit lane after the conclusion of qualifying for this round of the championship. Yeah, it is incredibly deceptive. And plus also, it's got an adverse camber to the right-hand side. So not only are you trying to pull a car up a hill, you're having to worry about what is that going to do with regards to the tyres over the course of the race as well. And that's never easy, because not only are you having to look after so many things, you're having to have mechanical sympathy with the car, you're having to keep an eye on track limits, and then you're also having to keep an eye on your six, as in your rear view mirror, as to who's behind me, is it more than 2 cars, how long does the train go on for, and that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of close pack racing here tonight.
We certainly are, and as always, a huge thank you to all of our commercial partners for making this championship happen, to BFBS, to Splunk, and to racecarradios.co.uk. But let's have a quick look through the grid then. Chris Pauly on pole position with Will Fox in second place. On row 2 is going to be Stu McFadden with Ryan Martin. Matty Chambers on row 3 with Jez Banks. Michael Clough on row 4 with Paul Hayhoe, 7th and 8th. 9th is Chris Boland with Tom Stevens in 10th. 11th place is James King with Ollie Waynes in 12th position. 13th for Craig Dunn and Chris Darnell alongside in 14th place on row 7. Row 8 is going to be Darren Berris and Stu Etick. John Fidge and Ryan Abbott's on row 9. Chris Slater and Rhys Bowes on row 10. Dan Hardwick and Colin Scott in 21st and 22nd position. 23rd is David Jameson. 24th is Glenn Griffin. And then 25th position, Barry Abbott, Adam Waters in 26th, and Ben Weston in 27th position. Quite a few drivers deciding to skip out this week, and are they going to be regretting that? I don't think so. I think maybe they'll be thankful that they've avoided what is to come here, but you know what they say, Alex, fortune favours the brave, and it looks like we are ready to go here racing at Knockhill. Just very quickly before the start of the race then, what's your final thoughts?
Bring it on, let's have some good racing, shall we?
That's that is, I couldn't have condensed that any better myself. Now, if you've always wondered why the track is called Knockhill, well, at the rear left there, you can see Knockhill. That is why the track is called here. It was former farmland until it was taken over, and it was primarily used for motorbike racing back when the circuit was originally born. And yeah, it was then taken over by Derek Butcher, who pretty much transformed the racetrack into what it is today, with the help of the amazing team behind the scenes at Knockhill Racing Circuit, which I was very privileged to work for a number of years there. Anyway, back to tonight. Rounds 9 and 10, we are ready to get going. The lights are about to come on to the gantry then, as Chris Pauly gets set to lead off Will Fox and Stu McFadden. 5 lights on the bridge. We get ready to go racing for the first time tonight, and it's a good start for Pauly. Poor start from McFadden. Martin gets a poor start as well there, but Matty Chambers, I think, got the worst there. They all head down to Duff and Step for the first time of asking, and it looks all fairly settled so far. But again, we've only got 200 metres into the race. It's way too early to call just yet. We've got one car going down the escape road at Duff and Step there. That looks like Paul Hayhoe dropping all the way down the order there, and it begins already. An absolute melee coming out of McIntyre's, and that is exactly what we thought was going to happen. Well, you said let's slip the dogs of war, Alex, and it's already happened as Cloughy has gone down from 5th place at the exit of Clark Corner, and more melees.
Well, we did see quite a few people, such as Ryan Abbott's, going off at Clark, so it wasn't going to be an easy first lap, as McFadden is already looking up the inside of Paulie, coming out of Taylor's and down the main start-finish straight. He could have the run, but he's having to slot back in behind the number 21. Ryan Martin's quickly on his case, and it's a three-way scrap for second position, as over the line, completing lap 1, and you can see that both Paulie and McFadden with serious air on the right-hand side of both their respective cars.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a little bit wide from Matty Chambers there. You've got 5 wide coming down at Duffus Step. That's never going to happen. Somebody's going to cry, and that looked like that might have been, was that King that went off into the inside there. What we did miss, though, is Will Fox taking the lead of the race then. Chris Paulie down in second, Stu McFadden in third position, Ryan Martin in fourth then. So Martin's going to want to try and get this position back. You can see Fox having some slight connection issues there, as you've got, oh, that looks like a car running very, very slowly up on the inside there. At Clark, you've got a car off in the background as well. That looks to be some severe suspension damage for that car there, as that is Stu McFadden then still holding on to that third position. He looks like he's dropping off the back of Chris Paulie, and it is just holding on to this position from Ryan Martin. Is behind, that is Barry Abbott for the Royal Navy coming out of that final hairpin, fighting with Chris Slater here. And again, this is going to be just a thrilling race here, Alex.
Yeah, that was Darren Berris, unfortunately, the number 40, who's ended up returning to garage and is effecting repairs as we speak. Adam Watters has also been in the pit, so has Ben Weston. So it is really all for themselves, as it's getting a little bit hairy. I think Cluffy's getting his elbows very truly out as he's closing in on Reece Bowes for 18th position as they go through into the chicane coming out of Butchers. And again, you know, these cars are getting serious air going over the crest of the chicane. As I said, it's a blind crest, blind apex for the next part of it, but you are literally going all 4 wheels into the air, and that's happened on a number of occasions. But Will Fox is just calmly pulling away from Chris Paulie, who's now got Stu McFadden towards his outside. That's a bit brave going into Duffer's Dip, but can McFadden get the undercut going through into McIntyre's and Butchers? He's not quite close enough. But if Paulie goes a little bit wide, and as I say that, he does run slightly wide, but McFadden's just going to bide his time. As I said, you've got to be strategic, but if you bump a sausage curb like that, Stuart McFadden, you are going to lose all that momentum you've just gained.
Yeah, and look at the gap, as you said, that Will Fox is gaining on Chris Paulie, Stu McFadden and Ryan Martin. Martin is possibly sitting in the wisest seat right now, letting this fight happen between Chris Paulie and Stu McFadden. McFadden knows where he can try and outbrake Paulie right now, but it all starts from here. It all starts from that final hairpin, getting a good run out of that final corner, booting it up that start-finish straight there, and getting across the line and down into Duffus Step. Can McFadden pull out any sort of a gap? No, he can't just now. He still has to tuck in behind and make the best of this right now, as we're watching Chris Paulie coming over the hill just now, then down through into McIntyre's as we head on to lap number 5 of a 15-minute race. This is a little bit further down the battle for 21st there goes John Finch up the inside, and that is going to be Dan Jameson gets sent down yet another position, although he might lose another one as Barry Weston, on the right hand side there. So Alex, 5 minutes in, we're a third of the way into this race, and you would never have told me that this was any less than or outside of the top 10 for these fights that are going on, because everything's going on as McFadden has just got past Chris Paulie for second place.
Yeah, that was a nice move going through into Taylor's, and straight away Paulie's on the counter-offensive. But look who's in the background. Ryan Martin has got the ringside seat. He is just strategically keeping that car as Paulie looks to the outside heading into Duffer's Dip. McFadden takes the racing line, gets a good carry of momentum. A little bit wide from Paulie coming out of Duffer's Dip and in towards McIntyre's. But nevertheless, the good thing is that he's got a fellow Royal Air Force buddy behind him, but Martin, I know for a fact, will want to get past Paulie and try and get one up on McFadden if he gets the opportunity when it presents itself.
Yeah, here's the thing though, Alex, his tyres, that we've seen it time and time again through these races towards the final 5 minutes, the tyres get greasy, they get hot, they get cooked, and the cars start slipping and sliding around. Now, with these GR86s, where traction is at a premium anyway, that is going to spell disaster for quite a few cars, and we saw that last week at Snetterton with Stu McFadden. He'll be hoping to avoid the repeat of that. Beautiful cut back there from Tom Stevens Stevens then fighting with Chris Boland just up in front as well. You've got Jez Banks just behind this little fight as well. So again, a brilliant little fight here for 7th, 8th and 9th position here. Sorry, 6th, 7th and 8th position. Tom Stevens gets sent down a position. You were on board with Ryan Martin, and that's a mistake from Paulie, who tries to bring it back in, but that is going to be P3 for Ryan Martin. He's unleashed to catch up onto the back end of Stu, and this is going to be a very, very tasty battle now then. So it's second Stu McFadden, third place for Ryan Martin, but 3 seconds of a gap away into the distance is Will Fox right now. And that was a little bit of contact there from Tom Stevens. I think that was Jez Banks on the back of him, and that was Chris Boland almost getting taken out on that one as well. Sorry, excuse me, that's Tom Stevens, Jez Banks and Ollie Wayne in that fight there.
Yeah, Banks made a bit of a mistake. Stevens managed to get through, and Banks was thinking, right, I've got to get this position back. I want that position back. But Ollie Wayne is just waiting there. He's just biding his time. And I did say that patience is not always a virtue here at Knockhill. There are some drivers that are being very, very patient indeed. Ryan Martin being one of them. Ollie Wayne being another. He's briefly looking up the inside of Banks going into Duffer's Dip, but has to hold back, wait for it, and see if the opportunity presents itself. And if Banks makes another mistake like he did on the previous lap to allow Stevens through, who's now 6.5 tenths of a second ahead, it could be a good one for Wayne, as Wayne now is looking up the inside, and this is going to be into the right-hander, into Clark. I think did he get through? He did. Ollie Wayne just absolutely teed up Jez Banks and got through nicely.
Yeah, that was a beautiful send going into Clark's there. Got the job done as we go back to Chris Slater onto the back of Weston and Finch as well. This is the battle for P19. And again, it just shows you how much these drivers are all fighting for these positions here. It doesn't matter that it's outside the top 10 right now. It doesn't matter that it's outside the top 15. This is just as important for these drivers right now. You've got Finch in there. You've got, I think you've got Scott in there just as well. So he's had a bit of an accident as well, so he's been brought into this fight as well in that 18th position here. So fantastic little fight that we're watching at the moment as Ryan Martin's still trying to close down on Stu McFadden. But again, with this halfway point being reached in the race now, Alex, it's again a case of drivers just having to kind of settle down as we've got lap traffic already being an issue and Stu McFadden under real pressure right now.
Yeah, Chris Slater's trying to go into battle with Ben Weston. Ben Weston's made up 7 positions at the moment and could make, well, does he go a little bit wide? He does go a little bit wide as they head through in towards Butchers and out of the chicane. So, yeah, again, it's just about being very, very concise. But with the back marker traffic, this is going to bring a new dynamic altogether into the race itself. And because we're past the halfway on the timer counting down, as we run on board with Ryan Martin, who is very, very slowly but surely closing on Stuart McFadden. They were literally 1/100th of a second apart on the previous lap as McFadden's having to go a bit brave and brazen. 2 wheels on the grass from the number 53, as that's David Jameson who gets right in the way of Ryan Martin and quickly decides, I don't want any of this. But then Martin through on the inside of Taylor's as McFadden drops the ball slightly, and Martin's now going to get the run into. Is he going to get the run and get the inside line for Duffer's Dip? I think he might try and chance it. But no, he slots it back in behind McFadden. But Martin just did the perfect undercut on Stuart McFadden to try and get second through Taylor's. That was mighty.
That certainly was, and that could have been an absolute disaster there with that lapped car. I've got no idea what on earth was going on. Maybe it was a last moment bit of panic there from that lapped car. In fact, yeah, that's now twice we've seen that car defending against cars that are a lap up here, and not just defending, Alex, but actively like trying to block them getting past. So maybe not aware that they're cars that are a lap up, but certainly I think that a little word in the ear is going to be had after that first race. Maybe not by the stewards, maybe it'll be by some of the fellow drivers in there as well. But yeah, it's Stu McFadden 3.3 seconds behind Will Fox, but Ryan Martin still trying to catch on the back. But what's happened there to Chris Paulie? Because he is just falling off there. I wonder if that car's got a little bit of damage on it, because that's now 3 seconds behind Ryan Martin here.
Yeah, well, he lost 2.1 seconds on the previous lap as well, a 58.19 in comparison with Ryan Martin's 56.09. McFadden's just taken over 2 tenths, nearly 2.5 tenths out of Will Foulkes on that particular juncture, as we're on to lap number 12. And the battling is still happening up and down the order. Colin Scott trying to do his level best to close in on those in front, and he goes round the eye of... what to say about that one. Whatever Scott did, that was perfectly timed, and that was doing an M&M round the outside at Taylor's.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic to see. The thing is, that is possible. You can, it's very unlikely that you'll pull it off, but it can be done, and that shows exactly how it is done. Beautiful, beautiful move there, and yeah, could absolutely no answer for it whatsoever. So Scott still in this fight with Finch and Weston, just looking further up the field as well. You've also got 10th and 11th fighting it out as well. You've got Craig Dunn, Paul Hayhoe involved as well. You've got Ollie Waynes and Tom Stevens. So some proper tasty battles all the way through there. But again, just, 4 minutes left to go in this race. It's all to play for. Let's have a look here at what happened with Ryan Abbott's then onto the brakes. And that is not going to be the last time you see that, but a little bit of Tokyo drift around that final corner here at Knockhill, and that car placed in a very precarious situation. It just times it to perfection in getting that car recovered there. There is Tom Stevens then with Ollie Wayne behind. You can see side by side the background. Craig Dunn coming under pressure from Stu Etic as well, coming into that final hairpin then. Stu Etic loses that position to Craig Dunn. Can't quite make that happen. And that's the battle for 9th and 10th position. But that's a great run out that final corner there for Stu Etic. They're going to be side by side coming across the start-finish line here, down on the brakes towards Duffus Step. Is it going to be round the outside? I think it is. So Craig Dunn keeps the bravery medal for that one and keeps on to that 9th position with just 2.5 minutes left to go here.
Yeah, I mean, Etic got a very, very good run as we go back to the battle between... that'll be John Finch in the 886 from the Royal Air Force, and then all kinds of havoc and pandemonium happening coming through Taylor's. Ben Weston stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and again nearly 3 wide coming out of Taylor's. But yeah, I mean, Will Foulkes has just done an absolutely mega job at the front of the field. He got the perfect start. He even lit up the rear tyres and put down 11s on the starting grid where he was, the best part of nearly 13 and a half minutes ago. And he's just absolutely timed it right and just made sure there were no mistakes made. And he's also circumnavigated the backmarker traffic that, a lot of the drivers at the sharper end of the grid have had to facilitate their way through.
Unbelievable action here. I don't know if you saw that there, but picture in picture, we were watching John Finch going side by side, it was, with Chris Slater earlier on, and that was just a cracking little battle here. We'll probably see that again coming out this final corner. Oh, that was close to a little bit of contact with a lapped car there, but Finch onto the back of Chris Slater. In fact, Slater is still holding on to that car behind him. So again, we'll just have to hold our breath. But there is your race leader then. This is going to be the final lap. Will Foulkes down through into McIntyre's for the final time here. Stu McFadden 3.3 seconds behind. And again, you're seeing just how quickly...
No, McFadden's lost second. He made a mistake and Ryan Martin's gotten through.
In fact, the pair of them have gone off, because look at that. That gap is going out and out and out. 5.2 seconds now, 5.3. So if the two of them come into contact with each other, Stu McFadden rejoins the track there. Well, I'm not sure what happened, but the two of them, they're trapped behind a lapped car. That's why they can't get past. So Stu McFadden down into that 3rd place after going wide at McIntyre's.
Yeah, it was a case of that happening. But it looks like, white flag is in the air, David.
So he's just managed to squeeze one more lap in just by 2 seconds. So it's not the final lap just yet. So Stu McFadden now back in front of Ryan Martin. So he's undid the damage there. They're still behind lap traffic, but Ryan Martin now down into P3. So we'll keep an eye on Will Foulkes to see where he's going. But this is the battle for 2nd place right now. Stu McFadden might have got the number of Ryan Martin just now, as Will Foulkes coming up through Clark's for the final time here on race 1 of the BFBS AFVRC, as Matty Chambers comes a cropper. He's dropped down from 6th place to 8th. Will Fox, though, coming along Railway Bend for the final time into the final corner. It's been a faultless display from him. Absolutely exemplary. Weaves from one way to the other. He's going to have that in the bag. It's a race win for Will Fox, but I think Stu McFadden is just going to have this in the bag there. Ryan Martin doesn't have the answer for him out on that final lap there. 2nd place then for Stu McFadden, 3rd place for Ryan Martin, and Alex, that is going to have huge championship implications.
Yeah, and also Will Fox definitely having the wind beneath his wings, no pun intended right there, by winning by nearly 6.3 seconds. Incredible performance. Led every single lap from lights out to checkered. You know, completely deserving of that win. But, you know, the battle between Tom Stevens and Ollie Wayne went in the favour of the latter, managing to get past, I think, possibly on the penultimate or final lap of the race. So it's been some really, really good battles in this opening race out of 2 for tonight's festivities here at Knockhill.
Absolutely has. Then we'll get the confirmed classifications for you in just a couple of minutes as the cars make their way around, as we're seeing John Finch here on their parade lap, on their victory lap here. What a race that was for race 1. There you go, race results then. Will Fox takes the win by 6.2 seconds over Stu McFadden. Ryan Martin in 3rd position. Chris Pawley in 4th, with Chris Boland in 5th position. Ollie Wayne rounds out a 6th top finish for the Royal Air Force in P6. Tom Stevens in 7th with the Royal Navy. Matty Chambers in 8th. Craig Dunn in 9th. Stu Etic in 10th position with Paul Hayhoe in 11th. James King in 12th with Michael Clough in 13th position. Chris Darnell in 14th. Ryan Abbott in 15th. Jez Banks and Rhys Bowes in 16th and 17th place respectively. 18th place for Chris Slater. Colin Scott for the Royal Air Force in 20th position. Ben Weston in 21st. Dan Hardwick in 22nd. Dan Berris in 23rd. Glenn Griffin in 24th. Barry Abbott in 25th. David Jameson in 26th. And Adam Waters finishing 17 laps down. Wow, that was a race and a half, Alex. In a couple of moments' time, we'll have the wheel for the reverse grids. But again, just in fact, there we go. There's the wheel just appeared by magic. But again, the whole point of this is finding out what that reverse wheel is going to give us in terms of the numbers of drivers going to the back then. So let's have a look then. We will have a top 6 reverse grid. So that means then that Ollie Wayne is going to be on pole position for race number 2 there, Alex.
Yeah, that gives an opportunity for Will Fox to not be that far behind. If it was 12th, then that could have been a different kettle of fish altogether. But yeah, top 6 lockout by the Air Force. That championship lead is going to continue to increase the way it has done all season so far in the team's championship. But yeah, I mean, Will Fox needs to get some good points, and you know, he did that in the opening race. We'll have to see what Stuart McFadden, Ryan Martin, et al. Just try and move forward. They've got to move forward quickly, and especially with race 2 being just as crucial.
Absolutely is. So as we said then, it's going to be a top 6 reverse grid then, meaning that Ollie Wayne is going to be on pole position, and meaning that we are going to have a heck of a second race coming up very, very shortly. It's going to be an awesome, awesome race, and very much looking forward to it. However, Alex, I mean, now we've got the first race out of the way, do you think that gives the drivers a little bit of an insight as to what to expect from racing here? Because it's one thing being able to hot lap and to do fast laps here, but it's quite another being able to race successfully here. Yeah,
they'll have, you know, it's always a steep learning curve here at Knockhill, especially with the undulation and the constant change in lateral sideways movement of the cars. And as soon as you get that first taste of it, then you have a true understanding of just how challenging and how well respected this circuit is. And several drivers, a few drivers did make a trip through a pit lane. But now we're going to go to what is going to be next week's random drawn circuit.
Yes, it is. So let's have a little look and see where we end up. I've seen Charlotte in there. I've seen Oran Park. Okayama, is it Okayama? Oh, I'll take that. I do love a little bit of Okayama. I wouldn't have minded Laguna Seca either, but it does look like we are off to Okayama for our mystery round next week. So that will be, and of course the drivers have no idea what it's going to be. So that is going to be quite the throw up for them. I think they're going to be very, very intrigued by that. I think it'll be a mixed reaction, it's safe to say.
It's a good circuit, though. You know, very tight, very compact, and it'll be good for the style of racing that we've got here in the AF VRC, to be honest with you, David. And it's a track that I think I did my first ever commentary for iRacing on.
There you go, then. That's exactly what you want to have. It is a really, really nice circuit. I think I've most commonly raced it in the Mazda MX-5 because it is just it's such a really enjoyable, fast-flowing circuit. It reminds me a lot of Road America as well. The fact that it's very smooth. When you're racing well on it, it races really, really nicely indeed. But there you go. You can see there the hints that we are going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, though, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have live coverage of Race 2 here from Knockhill. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, just in time for race 2 of the BFBS Afvrc Season 3, Round 10. Let's head over to the grid because it's Ollie Wayne's on pole position with second place is Chris Boland, Chris Pawley, Ryan Martin on row 2, row 3 Stu McFadden, Will Fox, Tom Stevens and Matty Chambers on row 4, Craig Dunn and Stu Etic on row 5, Paul Hayhoe and James King 11th and 12th position respectively. 13th place is going to be Michael Clough, Chris Darnell in 14th, Ryan Abbots is in 15th, Jez Banks is in 16th, and we go green for the second race of the evening. Ollie Wayne then, and it's a cracking start for Stu McFadden, gets the jump on Will Fox and Ryan Martin. Chris Boland though has got the lead of the race. Ollie Wayne down into third position. Everyone gets off and underway and is down into Duffins Dip for the first time of asking. Stu McFadden side by side. Will Fox gets the better of it, gets himself up at the fourth position and has a look around the inside there of Chris Pawley. He's going to be the next on the hit list as Chris Boland, rightfully so, off into the sunshine and thinks better of it. Stu Etic and Michael Cloughy has had a coming together. That's going to be on the entrance to the chicane there. Alex, wild start to this first couple of corners. We come through Clark's. I don't think it's going to calm down for another couple of laps here.
Definitely not, David. I mean, that was textbook from Ollie Wayne. He got the start he needed. And now there's going to be a change. There's going to be several changes, I think, as McFadden is ahead of Folks going out of Taylor's. Chris Boland leads the way. Ollie Wayne has got past Chris Pawley. They are side by side heading into Duffer's Dip. I think Wayne could have the inside line. He's pushing the limits of adhesion and also the envelope of which to get through. I think he has got through. No, he hasn't. Pawley's still through into second position. McFadden has dropped down to fourth. Fox is looking to get past. There's two wheels in the air. McFadden spins around.
Yeah, he got a little bit of help there from Will Fox. Completely unintentional from Will Fox. What happened there was Stu had clipped, went over. You saw the car going on two wheels there, and that's Matty Chambers having a moment as well, trying to recover that car there. Does do so, but he does so to go straight off at the exit Clark corner there. And just what was the way to say, it was down at McIntyre's. He clipped the curb, went onto two wheels, launched the car into the path of Will Fox there. Fox had nothing, absolutely nothing he could do in that moment, and was an innocent bystander in my opinion in that that little contact there. So Stu McFadden, well, he'll get going again, but I mean, you hate to see it. This is Matty Chambers coming out of Clark corner, and thankfully avoiding the corner. I was
and Ryan Abbots did as well. So
synchronised, wasn't it?
It was sympathy spinning there. But yeah, I mean, Craig Durant for the British Army currently sitting in ninth position behind Tom Stevens. Paul Hayhoe in the meantime currently P6 has put in the fastest lap of anybody, 56.79. Boland isn't getting away like we saw with Will Fox in the earlier race, but this is Ollie Wayne off the circuit and losing a few positions. He lost one to Fox and to Martin at the same point, but now he's fighting back. He's got Paul Hayhoe, I think, towards his immediate, to his immediate left-hand side. So we're going through into Taylor's. So Ollie Wayne back up into fifth place. But yeah, Chris Pawley in the meantime looks to be very much a danger driver. He's just gone 3.5 tenths quicker. Ryan Martin is on the cusp of hitting the 55s, and that's in race trim.
Unbelievable stuff. I'm going to make a very bold prediction here. I'm going to say that Stu McFadden's going to get a top 5 out of this. I just, watching the way that it's going, as Chris Boland side by side with Will Fox. Fox takes that second place from Boland, but yeah, the way that McFadden is going, I 100% think he's going to get into the top 5.
I'm not going to discount that at all there, David, because he was all the way down in 24th after that moment, having come together with Will Fox through just a sheer racing incident. But I think Ryan Martin, who's now ahead of Chris Boland, Martin has got the bit between his teeth and now has two targets to lock his crosshairs on and go for at the moment, and that's Fox and Pawley, with Pawley still leading.
Yeah, and this is a proper championship battle now, because Martin trying to catch on to the back of Fox there. Pawley in that battle, as you said as well, you've also then got Chris Boland's, Ollie Wayne's, who will try and make a fight of this if they possibly can. But what I love about this compared to the last race that we had, we're not seeing that same bit where one driver just streaks off into the sunshine here. So mark my words, this is going to be a very, very tasty affair, as we've already nearly ratcheted up 1/3 race distance here, 4 minutes 30 out of a 15-minute race here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. And Fox goes side by side with Paulie coming out of that final corner into the final corner rather, and Fox has to subdue himself on that exit of the corner. They're still side by side. Fox trying to take the lead of this race. It's a proper drag race here, but have a look at Ryan Martin. He's now 7/10 just behind him as the fastest man last lap round there, and Fox goes on the inside there, but Paulie keeps the foot in. It's going to be side by side down at the McIntyres as well, but Fox has the outside line there. But look at Martin, so Paulie holds on to the lead. Fox still in that second place there, and here comes Ryan Martin.
Martin on pure pace again, another sub 56 second lap time, 55.83. That just goes to show how quickly you can navigate your way through traffic. I mean, Fox has done a great job. I mean, if he was down in P12, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if he was up at this, at this sharper end of the grid at this particular moment. I mean, Stu McFadden at the minute now up into 16th position. Craig Durant and Tom Stevens are swapping positions like nobody's business right now, and Fox has dropped back down into second. He's got Martin right on his case, and Martin pulls to the outside. Fox then sweeps in front to cover the racing line into Duffer's Dip once again. This is like a strategic cat and mouse game with GR87 Cup cars involved.
Oh, let's go. I am absolutely all here for this. This is awesome. Meanwhile, you've got cars knocking lumps out of each other in the background. That's Ollie Wayne, Paul Hayhoe and Chris Boland, who are just nuking each other left, right and centre. I was absolutely loving it. This is like a tale of two halves. You've got, cool, calm and collected group of 3 cars here, and you've got a group of 3 cars who are just acting like gladiators with pugil sticks here as we go picture in picture. There is Craig Dunn onto the back of Tom Stevens, and again I'm going to look up the inside. You can see that picture in picture there as well. Fox takes the inside line, but Chris Paulie has the outside. Again, it's going to be a drag race here. Paulie's going to have to run out of that corner there, but how is this going to go down there? Because Paulie has the better speed here. Does he have enough though to get into Duffer's Dip? That's the question. Or does Fox outbrake him into that corner there? He does, and Paulie has to go down into second place there, Alex.
That was so tight but well orchestrated by Will Fox. Just lined it up, kept it pinned, went, right, I'm going to send it, and he had full confidence and full belief in getting that move done, and he's now opened up a gap of about 6/10.
Yeah, this is now danger time for Ryan Martin. He needs to get past that car in front if he's going to have any hope of actually getting into this lead battle right now. I think this is going to happen here. Yep, out of Clark Corner then. They're going to go side by side. It's going to be Ryan Martin out onto the brakes then. Outbreaks Chris Paulie, and that is going to be up into P2 with the halfway point in this race being reached. Stu McFadden up into P15. I might have to revise that estimation down quite significantly, but he is only 6 seconds off of getting into that top 10.
Yeah, well, the jury's not out on that one quite yet, David, so you might still be in luck. Just depends on how quickly he can catch up with those in front of him. I mean, yeah, 3.5 seconds. Yeah, I think your prediction might have to be significantly revised on how far up in towards the top 10 can Stu McFadden get, is how I'm going to now revise that one for you. But yeah, great battling between Ryan Martin and Chris Paulie. Ollie Wayne is also catching them as well. Consider this, Ollie Wayne was over a second quicker than Chris Paulie on that previous lap. He's only 8/10 adrift. But Will Fox looking to be a double race winner. I'm just wondering, David, have we had a double race winner so far this season? I don't think we have.
I don't think we have. It feels like every single race we've kind of chopped and changed as they've gone across the races there. Will Fox makes a fastest lap of the race in 55.8, is 0.2 of a second faster than Ryan Martin there. So the gap is going to have to start coming down now. It could actually do so as we start getting back markers and lap traffic coming into play as well here. But just, what's that now, 6 minutes left to go in the race here, race number 2 from Knockhill. There is Stu McFadden, top 15, and I honestly think that might be him for the day now. It's going to be a very tall order, especially with the cars kind of stretching out. I do wonder if that car has got a little bit of damage there. Ryan Martin, though, is now a second ahead of Chris Pauly, who is getting sent backwards at a rate of knots here. Ollie Wayne's now 1.2 seconds behind this battle as well here. So again, very, very interesting little dynamic to this race. I think that lap traffic is going to have a significant part potentially to play in this.
Yeah, not as significant when Fox was leading by, what was it, 6.3 seconds when he crossed the line, as we ride on board with Paul Hayo, who's now trying to look towards the inside, shows his nose to Ollie Wayne through into Duffer's Dip. And that gap is very, very close indeed. It's one of the closest gaps on the circuit. Chris Boland isn't too far from this either. He's about half a second adrift. He's sort of taking a page out of the book of Ryan Martin in race number 1, who was sitting behind by about half a second, 0.6 of a second, waiting to see what would happen in front. And Paul Hayo walloping the sausage curb with the inside part of the right rear wheel. Now Martin and Paulie, oh, it's happened again, because Fox is negotiating the traffic. Martin's having to get through, and he's got Paulie closing on his 6 like a good one. Bit of a slower run out of Taylor's by Martin. Paulie is closing and is in the slipstream. Pulls to the outside, down the main start-finish straight. This is going to be close, but Martin's going to have that inside line once again back into Duffer's Dip.
Yeah, he certainly does. And again, I think that's the same car that we were seeing as a back marker. Being a bit of a bottleneck there. I think that might have been David Jameson in the 24 potentially. We'll double check anyway. But Ryan Martin then still just, and I do mean just ahead of Chris Pauly right now for that battle for second place there. Paul Hayhoe having a look at the inside of Ollie Wayne. That's coming into Clark Corner, and again, this is now coming to the point, Alex, here where the tyres are starting to have a little bit of stress on them. They're having a little bit of a temper tantrum. They're overheating. Oh my goodness me, big contact. That is going to be huge unless he gets that car stopped. I think he might just get it done, but it's going to roll back into the apex. Completely unnecessary contact there. There was plenty of space for both of those cars there, and I've got a feeling that Paul Hayhoe might be waiting for that car there, and there he is. Yeah, that's it's good to see. Completely didn't need to happen, that contact, but at least Paul Hayhoe waiting for Ollie Wayne to make sure that he does get that position back there. The pair of them losing an inordinate amount of positions there, but Ollie Wayne's into pit lane. A crazy move there.
It was the slightest of contacts. I mean, the thing was coming out of Clark Curve. What we found there was Paul Hayhoe was actually getting towards the inside of the straight, heading in towards Taylor's, and it was just the slightest of touches. We have seen that before over the course of this season in the AFVRC, that the slightest nudge, if it's from the A pillar backwards on these cars, the minute you give it the slightest knock at high speed, one car is guaranteed at least to be spinning around.
Absolutely is, and what a wild moment that is. And my heart was in my mouth because I just had visions of that car going along the grass and straight back into the oncoming traffic. Thankfully that didn't happen though. Chris Pauly, you're absolutely right. Chris Pauly though, in back that battle for second here, Alex, is really taking that fight to Ryan Martin right now. That gap still expanding on its own accord here, so it is a proper little fight for seconds and third position here.
And that was Dan Hardwick just going off the circuit in front of Ryan Martin, so I'm sure that Ryan Martin was like saying, I don't want any part of this, I'm keeping it straight away.
Yeah, just like no.
Don't go, no, Alex, stay away.
Have a look then. Stu McFadden up onto the inside, and oh well. Okay, so I might have to revise that top 5 prediction now then after that. That was a mistake of Stu's own making there, but he has had another position at the expense of Ollie Wayne there. But Yeah, that's not been the best, although Ollie Wayne's still making moves and coming up through the order here. But 13.5 minutes gone in the second race of 2 tonight here at Knockhill for the BFBS Afvrc Season 3 live here from Knockhill. And it's David Christie and Alex Goldschmidt with all of the coverage here for you tonight, where Will Folks is on course to have an unprecedented second win and double header. We believe the first of the season. So an impressive performance from Folks. And you've got to say, Alex, all credit to him, being able to stretch that gap quite handsomely by himself.
Another person that's put in a great performance so far tonight, the number 40, Darren Perris, started in 23rd as we go on to the final lap of the race. No 1 or 2 second margin for Will Fox to cross the line and give us what would have been, well, we're going to have 16 laps on this one, 17 laps previously. But yeah, Darren Perris is 3.1 seconds off of James King. There's been a change at the bottom of the top 10. Chris Turnell's now ahead of Chris Slater. And Chris Turnell started 14th, is currently P10. Slater in his own right has gone up from 18th to 11th. So has John Finch, has gone up 7 positions to 12th. We're going to go to a replay here. And this is Chris Slater. We're just going to see what happens here. He loses the back end. Oh, that's why he lost that. That's why he lost out. But Will Folks, again, it's double delight for the number 131 from the Royal Air Force. He picks up the double here at Knockhill.
Beautiful win across the line then for Will Folks. Ryan Martin in P2. It's going to be Chris Polly close behind in P3. Chris Boland in 4th position. Craig Dunn in 5th. Now, that is a remarkable result for Craig. The 2022 season champion has just had a torrid start to the season, and I believe that might be one of his best results to date so far this season. Tom Stevens is going to finish in 6th position. Then it is going to be the 7th place car of Joe King and Dan Berris, Jez Banks in 9th position, and then Chris Turnell in 10th position. We'll get full classifications very shortly. But Alex, your final thoughts on the race?
What do I need to say about one driver that has dominated proceedings? Will Folks winning by 3.7 seconds ahead of Ryan Martin. Top 4 lockout for the Royal Air Force as such, with Chris Pauly and Chris Boland rounding out the top 4. Craig Durant for the British Army in 5th place, a solid performance, and 2 Army drivers in the top 10 with Chris Turnell rounding out the top 10. Tom Stevens being the sole driver from the Royal Navy in the top 10 in 6th ahead of James King, Darren Berris and Jez Banks. I mean, the Air Force have got that monopoly on that title for the team's standings. Then you look outside of the top 10, Chris Slater, John Finch, Paul Hayhoe, Stuart McFadden recovering to 14th, Colin Scott, Ollie Wayne and Ben Weston being on the same lap as the eventual race winner Will Folks. Then we had the likes of Ryan Abbott's, Reece Bowers, Dan Hardwick, David Jameson, Glenn Griffin, Michael Clough, Stewie Tock and Barry Abbott finishing a few laps down, and Matty Chambers unfortunately retiring on lap number 4.
What a race that was, though, and significantly less attrition in that second race there than we did have in that first race. But, of course, with that then, time for having a chat to some of our drivers, and we'll have a chat with 3rd place in that second race there. First of all, Chris Polly. Chris, good evening. That was a bit of a wild night here at Knockhill tonight.
Yes, yeah. Overall, though, pretty happy with that. It's good to be back on the podium. I think I've kind of been scraping away lots of 4th places and 5th places, but yeah, tonight obviously started on pole in the first race as well, so that was a bit of a surprise. I don't know where that came from, and then just had to kind of fight my way back up. But really pleased with the 3rd place. I think it does the championship for myself at least a lot of good.
A healthy shot in the arm for points for sure, but quite honestly, you were properly on par with Ryan Martin for pace. You could have had that 2nd place.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened this week. There seems to be a bit of a step change because, you know, in the last couple of rounds we've had Ryan Martin, Will Folks, Stu McFadden. And like I said, I've kind of been, you know, picking up the first of the losers in 4th place and beyond. But somehow again this will do do a lot of help in terms of getting points for the championship. I'm kind of stealing a second place at the minute in the championship. So yeah, really pleased. It was a good race. It's a tricky circuit. It's pretty unforgiving. I think that's why I made a few mistakes in the first race and lost that pole position. But yeah, good result.
Excellent stuff. Well, Chris, listen, we wish you the best of luck and we can't wait to see you next week out. Any messages? Anybody you'd like to thank?
I'll just thanks everybody who's racing tonight. It's great racing, and yeah, it's good to be involved.
Awesome stuff. Well, Chris, listen, thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
So let's have a chat to second place in that race, and throughout the night as well. Let's have a chat with Ryan Martin. Ryan, that was a frustrating night for yourself, but ultimately you still came away with some fairly decent points.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Yeah, two races that at this track, unless you're starting right at the front, it's going to be very difficult to get there. But as far as results go, I think I got a P3 and a P2, so it couldn't have been much better. So I'm happy taking that at this track. It's a bit volatile with the back markers and stuff like that. So I think it was as good as I was going to get, because Will just had far too much pace tonight. Far too much pace.
Now, I'm going to ask Stu this as well, but do you feel a little bit of extra pressure given that this is your circuit?
Well, I am originally from Kirkcaldy, so this circuit is literally like less than 15 miles from my house. So yes, I did feel extra pressure. I know that a few people were expecting me to do well, and I think 2 podiums. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that against guys like Stu and Will, who are obviously very, very fast. So yeah, it's a strange track. It's a difficult one. But yeah, definitely was expecting. Well, I still do expect a few messages off of some people either congratulating me or ripping me because I didn't do as well as they expected, probably.
Well, as someone in Dunfermline, I'm going to be one of those ripping you, I think, in the old private message. But listen, halfway through the season, we're coming down to crunch time now. What's your thoughts going into the sort of second half of the season?
I think I'm going to have to just attack it like I have the first part. I mean, the first half has went almost perfect, and if the second half goes like that, I don't think anybody in the championship can catch me. So I just need to stay consistent, keep doing what I'm doing week in, week out, and just try and keep getting the solid results, even if it's not wins, because it's not all about wins. It's just scoring at every round. And as far as the championship so far, it's going pretty well. So I can't really have any complaints at all about it, to be fair.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, Ryan, have you got anybody you want to thank, any sponsors or anything?
Yeah, just the usual guys. We'll go for Race Car Radios, Splunk, BFBS, and obviously yourselves. Thanks for doing the broadcast. And also, I can see Mark Fletcher in the chat. He's my esports team manager. So hopefully he's going to send a nice message, because yeah, his driver did all right, I think.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, Ryan, thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.
Nice one. Have a good one, guys, and I'll speak to you next week, hopefully.
So, time for the last interview. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Stu McFadden. What on earth happened in race 2, buddy?
How we doing, Dave? It's good to hear your voice again. Yeah, race 2. Yeah, I seems to be a bit of a I don't know what word to use, but of bad luck in race 2. A few weeks ago I missed the race. Last week I got taken out, and this week I kind of take myself out, to be honest. I hit the curb. I made a bit of setup change between race 1 and race 2 to try and help take the curbs, and it really didn't help take the curbs, to the point where if I hit a curb I spun, and that's exactly what happened. It didn't happen twice. So yeah, I've kind of learned the worst way possible, but yeah, that setup will be getting changed back for next week.
I was saying to Ryan, because this is your circuit, do you feel any extra pressure on yourself because of that?
Maybe, because Ryan keeps telling me how I've driven it in real life, and it makes such a big difference, and it clearly doesn't. I'm not kidding. Yeah, it's just such a good track to drive. Like even if it was based in Denmark, I'd still enjoy it. It's just the fact that it's half an hour from my house that makes it so good. I absolutely love driving Knockhill, and that's not me being biased, by the way. Maybe, but yeah.
It's all right. You're allowed to. You're allowed to have a favourite track. Next week we're moving on to Okayama. The mystery track was revealed and chosen tonight. What's your thoughts ahead of that?
Yeah, Okayama's been a really, really good track. I can remember doing an SMRC race round there, and me and Sandy Mitchell, Lamborghini GT driver, racing, and I had some really, really good memories from there. The Mazda and the Toyota are pretty similar, so I'm hoping that I can sort of replicate that. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, we're running out of time, Stu, but congratulations on the recovery drive tonight and a decent race one, and not so much on the race two, but hopefully you'll have some better fortunes next time out at Okayama.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Dave.
So there we go. A voice, Alex, that I know you've heard in the past, but yeah, there we go. That's us. That's us done and dusted here from Knockhill. What a night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Okayama brings to the party for next week for round 6 of the BFBS Armed Forces Virtual Race Challenge. I mean, it's been a pleasure joining you in the commentary box again after all the madness that we had at Donington Park a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, looking forward to what the second half of the season brings, David.
Absolutely, and it's been a pleasure having you on board here as always, Alex. A huge thank you to yourself. Huge thank you to Mike here behind the scenes on behalf of Sim Sport Solutions. Huge thank you to all the team at RAF Motorsports for helping us get all this sorted out. And a huge thank you as always to our commercial partners at British Forces Broadcasting Services, at Splunk and racecarradios.co.uk. But most importantly, thank you to you at home for watching. Join us next week where we have week number 6 of the BFBS AFVRC Season 3 from Okayama International Circuit. But on behalf of myself, Dave Christie, and Alex Goldschmidt, thanks very much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time.